Daniel Carter sat inside his small exploration ship, watching the stars move slowly outside his window. He had traveled across many empty parts of space before, but today he felt something different. The silence around him was too heavy, as if the universe was holding a secret. His mission was simple: map new regions of space and send data back to Earth. He had done this work for years, and most of the time it was calm, even boring. But suddenly, his scanner began to beep. A weak signal flashed on his screen, unlike anything he had seen in weeks. Daniel leaned closer. "Strange," he whispered to himself. The signal looked almost like a distress call, but very faint, like someone crying from far away. He adjusted. The frequency and the sound grew clearer. It wasn't machine-like, it almost sounded alive. He thought for a moment. Protocol told him to mark the location and send the data later, but his heart told him something else. If this was a cry for help, maybe someone needed him right now. He sighed, then set his course toward the signal. His ship entered the orbit of a small green planet. From above, Daniel saw wide forests glowing with soft blue light, like millions of fireflies. Rivers sparkled under the thin atmosphere. It looked peaceful, but the signal kept pulsing, weak but steady. Daniel landed in a clearing near the forest. The moment he stepped outside in his suit, he felt the air was thin but not deadly. Strange sounds echoed, soft whistles and gentle humming, like the forest itself was alive. The ground glowed under his boots, and tall plants with crystal-like leaves swayed even though there was no wind. He followed his handheld scanner, which pointed deeper into the woods. The sound of the signal grew stronger, and his heart began to beat faster. Then he saw something. A small figure sat alone near a tree, trembling. It was a child, but not human. The skin was pale silver, shining faintly like moonlight. Large eyes, brighter than stars, looked up at him with fear and hope. The child's body was thin, fragile, and glowing faintly in the dark. Daniel froze. He had met aliens before, but never a child alone like this. He raised his hand slowly to show he meant no harm. The child opened his mouth, and Daniel's translator device began to work. The words were broken, but Daniel understood them. "Please, save my mother," the child said, voice shaking. Daniel's chest tightened. It was not just a random signal. It was a cry from a child who had been waiting, maybe praying, for someone to come. He knelt down slowly so he was not taller than the child. "Hey, it's okay. My name is Daniel. I'm here to help. What's your name?" The child blinked and whispered, "Leary." Daniel smiled gently. "Leary, don't be afraid. Tell me, what happened to your mother?" Tears welled in Leary's shining eyes. His small hands shook as he pointed toward the forest. "Mother, trapped, cave, sick. We cannot save her. Please. Only you." Daniel felt a deep pull in his heart. He thought of his own childhood on Earth, of times when he had called for help. He remembered how it felt when someone listened. Now, standing on this strange, glowing world, a small alien child was asking him for the same. He looked at Leary again. The child was not dangerous, he was desperate, and Daniel knew he couldn't turn away. "All right, Leary," Daniel said softly. "I'll help you. Take me to your mother." For the first time, Leary's eyes brightened with a small spark of hope. He stood, weak but determined, and reached for Daniel's hand. Daniel hesitated only for a second before holding it. The child's touch was light, almost like holding a small beam of light. As they began walking, Daniel noticed how carefully Leary moved. The ground sometimes glowed brighter under the child's steps, and the plants seemed to bow slightly when he passed. This world was clearly alive in ways Daniel did not yet understand. The forest grew darker as they moved deeper, but Daniel kept his scanner ready. He looked down at Leary. "How far is the cave?" Leary shook his head slowly. "Close, but dangerous." Daniel gave a reassuring nod. "Don't worry, I'll protect you. Inside his heart, Daniel knew he was stepping into something far greater than a simple mission. This was not about mapping stars or sending data back home. This was about answering a cry that no one else had heard. The weak signal on his scanner faded now because the source was walking beside him, the little alien child whose voice had reached across the stars. Daniel squeezed Leary's hand gently and thought, "This child believes only a human can help. I don't know why yet, but I won't let him down." As the glowing forest opened into the mouth of a dark cave, Daniel stopped. He could hear faint echoes from within, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. The air was thicker here, filled with strange energy. Leary tugged his hand and whispered again, "Please, save her." Daniel took a deep breath. The cave waited before him like a giant mouth, silent and heavy with mystery. He knew that whatever was inside could change not just this child's life, but maybe the way he saw humanity itself. He tightened. His grip on his tools steadied his heart and nodded. "Let's go, Leary, show me the way." And with that, man and child stepped into the unknown, bound together by a desperate cry and a promise only a human could make. Daniel's boots crunched softly on the glowing ground as he followed Leary deeper into the forest. The tall crystal-leafed trees grew thicker, and the light above faded, leaving only the soft glow of plants beneath their feet. Daniel glanced, down at the child walking beside him. Leary's hand was small and trembling, but his steps were steady with determination. "Leary," Daniel said gently, "tell me about your mother. What happened to her?" The child looked up, eyes shimmering in the dark. "Mother, Elira. She is healer. She cares for tribe, but cave took her strength. Too deep, too heavy for us. No one can reach her. Air inside makes us weak. Others tried, but they fell." Daniel's brows furrowed. The Irinians, as he guessed the child's race might be called, sounded fragile compared to humans. The way Leary spoke of air and heaviness made Daniel think the cave's environment was poisonous or too harsh for their kind. Yet here was a boy, still willing to lead a stranger through danger for his mother's sake. "Why me?" Daniel asked carefully. "Why do you think I can help when your own people cannot?" Leary squeezed his hand tighter. His voice was small but filled with certainty. "Because you are strong. You came from stars. Only human can walk where we cannot. I believe." The words struck Daniel's heart. He had never thought of himself as special. Back on Earth, he was just another explorer, another pilot, in the long list of humans mapping the unknown. But to this child, he was something more, an answer to a prayer. They reached a rise in the forest. Below it stretched a wide valley filled with glowing mist. In the distance, the mouth of a cave yawned open, darker than the night around it. Strange lights flickered at its entrance, like sparks caught in slow motion. Daniel crouched with Leary, beside him, studying the place. "That's where she is?" Leary nodded quickly, eyes full of worry. "Yes, Mother is deep inside. She cannot move. If too long passes, her light will fade forever." Daniel's heart tightened at those words. He had seen sickness before, on human colonies where medicine was scarce. He had seen the helpless faces of children watching their loved ones slip away. This was the same pain, only on another world. He looked at Leary and gave a firm nod. "We'll get her out. I promise." Leary's lips trembled, but for the first time since Daniel had found him, the boy's face brightened with a small smile. They climbed down toward the valley. Daniel noticed more details about this strange world. The mist glowed like liquid light, curling around their legs without wetting their clothes. Small, floating creatures drifted through the air, shaped like jellyfish but with wings that shimmered. They sang faint tones, harmonizing with the hum of the crystals that grew from the ground. "This place," Daniel whispered. "It's alive in ways I've never seen." Leary nodded faintly. "Our world is song and light. But the cave is different. It is dark. Wrong. We do not belong there." Daniel felt the child's hand shake. He stopped and knelt beside him. Leary, you've been very brave to come this far, but once we enter the cave it may be dangerous. Are you sure you want to go with me? Leary hesitated. His eyes shimmered with both fear and love. Mother needs me. I cannot stay behind. Even if I am weak, I will not leave her. Daniel placed a firm hand on the child's shoulder. Then we'll go together, and I'll make sure you're safe. They reached the base of the valley and stood at the cave entrance. Daniel activated his scanner again. The readings showed unstable air, high mineral activity, and faint energy spikes. To a human, it was survivable with his suit's filter. But to the Iranians it would be deadly. Now I understand, Daniel thought. What weakens them is something I can resist. He turned to Leary. Stay close to me. If you feel weak, tell me right away. I'll carry you if I have to. Leary gave a determined nod, though his eyes betrayed his fear. Together, they stepped inside. The cave swallowed them whole. The glowing forest outside faded away, leaving only the light of Daniel's suit and the faint glow from Leary's body. The air was thick, heavy with unseen pressure. Strange humming came from the crystal walls, but instead of soothing, it made the air vibrate unpleasantly. Leary staggered after only a few steps. Daniel quickly lifted him into his arms. I've got you, he said firmly. Just rest. Carrying the child, Daniel pressed deeper into the cave. The path twisted downward, narrow and jagged. The walls were covered in markings, ancient carvings that looked like spirals and stars. Daniel ran his hand across them, realizing they were not random. These were records, maybe a forgotten history of Leary's people. Did your people make these? Daniel asked softly. Leary, weak but awake, nodded faintly. Long ago, we had knowledge. We lost it. Cave is forbidden. But Mother went to heal others. She did not return. Daniel studied the carvings again. He saw symbols of figures standing beneath stars, hands raised, as if calling for something beyond. His heart beat faster. It seemed the Iranians once knew of the universe outside, perhaps even of humans long before now. But before he could think deeper, a soft voice echoed through the cave. It was weak, like a fading song. Leary, my child. The boy stirred in Daniel's arms, eyes wide. Mother, it is her. She lives. Daniel tightened his grip on Leary and moved quickly toward the sound. His boots splashed through shallow pools of glowing water. The path narrowed until they reached a chamber lit by crystals that pulsed like fading stars. There, lying against the rocks, was a tall figure. Her body glowed like Leary's, but her light was dim, flickering. She looked fragile, her breath shallow, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Mother, Leary cried, struggling to move from Daniel's arms. Daniel lowered him gently, and Leary rushed to her side, hugging her weak form. Tears glimmered in his eyes as he whispered, I brought help. I brought him. The woman, Elira, opened her eyes slowly. She looked at Daniel, confusion and wonder in her gaze. A human? She whispered, her voice like a fading melody. Daniel knelt beside her. Yes, I'm Daniel. Your son called for me. I came to help. Elira tried to smile, but her strength was failing. No one has ever answered before. Daniel looked at her, then at the crystals around her. They pulsed with strange energy, almost feeding on her glow. His jaw tightened. Now he understood why she was growing weaker. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Hold on, Elira. I don't know how yet, but I'll find a way to save you. Leary looked up at him, eyes shining with desperate trust. Please, don't let her fade. Daniel met the child's gaze, then nodded firmly. I won't. And as the dark cave hummed with strange energy, a promise was made, not only between a human and an alien family, but between two worlds. The air inside the cave pressed down heavily, almost like an invisible weight. Daniel could feel the strange energy vibrating through his suit, humming against his chest. It was clear now why the Iranians could not survive here. Their glowing bodies were delicate, almost like living light, and the crystals drained them little by little. Daniel watched Elira, weak and fading, lying against the rocks. Leary knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly, refusing to let go. The boy's small glow flickered, as if the cave itself was trying to steal his strength too. Daniel's jaw tightened. He couldn't let that happen. He turned on his scanner again. The readings showed high mineral resonance, unstable air, and dangerous energy spikes. To the Irinians, this was deadly. To him, it was heavy, but survivable. "Leary," Daniel said softly, "your mother is still alive, but she cannot stay here much longer. These crystals are draining her." Leary looked up, eyes wet and desperate. "Can you save her?" Daniel placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "I don't know how yet, but I will try. For her. And for you." The boy's eyes filled with trust, and he nodded firmly. Daniel lifted Elira carefully, supporting her fragile body. She was light, almost weightless, but her glow dimmed with every moment in the cave. "Stay strong," Daniel whispered to her. "Your son needs you." She gave a faint smile. "He is brave, braver than me. Thank you, human." Her voice was weak, but Daniel heard the love in her words. He glanced at Leary, who walked close beside them, determined to guide the way, even though he was trembling. The path deeper into the cave narrowed. The crystals grew larger, humming with louder vibrations. Some hung from the ceiling like giant icicles, glowing faint red, while others jutted from the ground like jagged teeth. The air grew thicker, filled with sparkling dust that clung to their skin and suits. Leary stumbled once, coughing weakly. Daniel quickly reached down and lifted him into his free arm. Now he carried both mother and child, one on each side, pressing forward with human strength. The weight slowed him, but his determination burned brighter. "If they cannot survive this place, then I will be their shield," he thought. As they moved deeper, the ground shook suddenly. A low rumble echoed through the cave, and pieces of stone fell from above. Daniel shielded the two Irinians with his body as rocks crashed around them. "Stay calm," he said firmly. "I've got you both." The tremor passed, but the path ahead looked unstable. Cracks split the ground, glowing with faint blue light. Pools of liquid shimmered, releasing strange mist. Daniel stepped carefully, testing each stone before moving forward. Leary pointed ahead with a trembling finger. "There, that way." Mother fell deeper, before she could escape. "We must go down." Daniel looked at the dark tunnel ahead. It sloped downward into even thicker mist. His scanner beeped, warning of stronger energy fields. He tightened his grip. "Then that's where we go." The descent was slow and dangerous. The tunnel was narrow, forcing Daniel to crouch as he carried Elira and Leary. Sharp crystals lined the walls, brushing against his suit with sparks of energy. The deeper they went, the louder the hum became, as if the entire cave was alive and watching. Leary whispered weakly, "The cave sings. It is not a good song." Daniel nodded. "I hear it too. But remember, even bad songs can end. We'll find a way out." The boy looked at him, eyes wide. "You are not afraid?" Daniel gave a small smile. "Of course I'm afraid, but being brave means moving forward even when fear is there. That's what humans do." Leary's glow brightened just a little. "Then, I will be brave too." At last, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. The walls were covered with carvings, far more detailed than before. Strange symbols glowed faintly. Circles, spirals, and stars connected by lines, like maps, of the sky. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. "These are star charts," he whispered. "Your people, they once knew the universe." Elira stirred weakly in his arms. "Long ago. Our ancestors walked with light. But knowledge was lost, forbidden. The cave holds secrets. We fear them." Daniel studied the carvings closer. Among the stars was a symbol of a hand, reaching outward. Beneath it was another symbol, different, stronger, shaped almost like a human hand. He felt a shiver. Could it be? They knew of humans long ago, or someone like us. But before he could wonder further, another tremor shook the chamber. Crystals cracked, and the glow of the walls flickered. Elira groaned softly, her light growing weaker. "Daniel," she whispered faintly. "I cannot. Go on, leave me, save Leary." Leary cried out, clutching her hand. "No, Mother, don't say that. You must live, please." Daniel shook his head firmly. "No one is being left behind. Not while I'm here." He set the two down gently and pulled out metallic sheets from his pack. They were part of his emergency kit, used for repairs and shielding. He placed them against the crystals near Elira, blocking the waves of draining energy. Slowly, her glow steadied, though faintly. "It works," Daniel murmured. "I just need more time." But the cave groaned again, louder than before. Stones rumbled and the ceiling cracked. Time was running out. Daniel turned to Leary. "Listen, to me. Stay close to your mother, keep holding her hand, don't let go no matter what happens." Leary nodded quickly, eyes wide with fear but full of trust. "I won't let go." Daniel stood tall, scanning the chamber. If he could find a safe path out, maybe they could escape before the cave collapsed. As he searched, the whispering hum grew louder, almost like words. For a moment Daniel thought he heard voices, ancient deep, echoing from the walls. But he shook his head. Not now. Focus on the living. He turned back to Elira and Leary, determination in his eyes. "I don't care what this cave is or what secrets it holds. I'm not letting it take you." And with that promise, Daniel prepared to lead them through the dark, deeper into danger, toward the unknown path that might save them, or reveal something far greater than any of them expected. The chamber grew darker as the crystals dimmed, flickering like dying lanterns. Daniel could hear the low groaning of the cave above, as if the mountain itself was alive and restless. He glanced at Elira, lying weakly against the stone. Her glow was faint, almost gone, and every breath seemed to cost her great effort. Leary knelt beside her, clutching her hand tightly. The child's face was filled with fear, but his eyes burned with determination. "Mother, don't leave me. Please stay." Elira lifted her trembling hand to touch Leary's cheek. "My child, I am still here, but the cave takes too much from me. I do not know how long I can fight." Her voice was soft, like a song fading in the wind. Daniel crouched beside them, setting his scanner against the crystals again. The readings flashed bright red, dangerous energy surging, draining everything living in the chamber. He knew now that Elira's sickness was not natural. It was this place, this strange force pulling away her very life. He clenched his fists. "She doesn't need medicine. She needs protection from the cave itself." "Leary," Daniel said calmly, "your mother is strong, but the crystals are hurting her. If we can shield her from them, she might recover." Leary's eyes widened. "Shield her? How?" Daniel pulled out the metallic sheets he had placed earlier. They glimmered faintly, blocking some of the crystal light. "These can stop part of the energy, but I don't have enough for the whole chamber. I'll need to improvise." He stood and walked around the chamber, studying the walls. The carvings of stars and spirals seemed to glow faintly, almost guiding him. He noticed how some crystals pulsed brighter, feeding into the dimmer ones. It was like a chain, each draining and passing energy along. "Break the chain," Daniel whispered to himself. "If I can interrupt the flow, maybe it will stop draining her." Elira's weak voice interrupted his thoughts. "Human. Daniel, why do you do this? You owe us nothing." Daniel turned back, his face firm. "Because no one deserves to be left behind. Your son called for help, and I answered. That's enough reason." Elira's eyes softened. She looked at Leary, then back at Daniel. "You carry great strength, but also great heart. Our people once believed in such strength, long ago." Her words faded as her glow flickered again. Leary cried out, "Mother, stay awake! Please don't go!" Daniel hurried back, kneeling beside them. He checked his scanner. It was worse than before. The crystals pulsed faster, almost like they were alive, reacting to Elira's weakness. He set his jaw. "I won't let this place take her." Quickly, Daniel worked. He pulled wires from his suit pack, connecting them to the metallic sheets. Using his suit's power supply, he created a makeshift shield that spread across the chamber. The hum of the crystals grew softer where the shield touched. Those sparks flickered across the wires. It wasn't perfect, but Elira's glow steadied slightly. Her breathing eased and her eyes opened again. "It's working," Daniel said, relief washing over him. Leary hugged his mother gently, whispering, "See? He's saving you, Mother." Elira looked at Daniel, gratitude shining in her dim eyes. "You risk yourself and for us, why?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because I can. Sometimes being human means finding a way even when there isn't one." But the cave was not done fighting. Another tremor shook the ground stronger than before. Crystals cracked, releasing bursts of light. The shield sparked wildly and Daniel struggled to keep it steady. Leary cried out, holding his mother tighter. "Daniel, the cave is angry." Daniel braced himself against the wall. "Then let it be angry. We're not giving up." The chamber roared with sound and pieces of rock fell from above. Daniel shielded Elira and Leary with his own body as dust filled the air. When the tremor passed, he coughed and checked them both. Still safe. But his shield was failing. The wires glowed hot and his power supply dropped dangerously low. He knew he couldn't hold this forever. He looked at Elira. "I can't stop the cave completely. We need to get you out. Can you walk if I support you?" Elira tried to move, but her legs shook and she fell back. "No, too weak." Daniel lifted her carefully into his arms again. "Then I'll carry you. Leary, stay close." The boy nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "I will not leave her." They began the climb back up, moving carefully through the tunnel. Every step was heavy with danger. The air was thick with energy, and the crystals hummed angrily, as if resisting their escape. Daniel carried Elira on his back while holding Leary's hand. His muscles ached, but he pushed forward. One step at a time. "Don't stop. They're counting on you." Halfway up the slope, Elira spoke faintly in his ear. "Human, you risk everything for strangers." "Why?" Daniel's breath came heavy, but his voice was steady. "Because no one else could. If I walked away, your son would lose his mother. I won't let that happen." Her weak hand touched his shoulder. "Your heart shines brighter than any star." Daniel didn't answer, but inside her words gave him strength. The tunnel shook again. This time, part of the ceiling collapsed ahead, blocking the path. Stones crashed down, glowing dust filling the air. Leary cried out, pulling closer to Daniel. Daniel set Elira down gently and studied the blockage. It wasn't too large, but the rocks were heavy. To the Iranians it was impossible. To him it was a test of will. He rolled up his sleeves, gripping the rocks. His muscles burned as he pulled and pushed, clearing a small path. Sweat dripped inside his suit, and his arms screamed with pain. But slowly the way opened. Leary's eyes shone with amazement. "You moved the stones like they were nothing." Daniel grinned, though exhausted. "Not nothing. But sometimes, strength isn't about size. It's about refusing to stop." They pressed forward again, finally reaching the first chamber where Daniel had placed his shield. The wires had burned out completely, and the crystals were pulsing again, but weaker this time. Maybe his actions had disrupted their chain. Elira's glow was faint but steadier now. She looked at Daniel with tired but grateful eyes. "You gave me more time. Perhaps enough." Leary hugged her side, smiling through his tears. "Mother, you will live. Daniel will save you." Daniel looked at them both, then at the path ahead leading to the surface. His muscles ached, his power supply was low, but his resolve was unbroken. "We're close," he said firmly. "Just hold on a little longer." And with that he prepared to lead them toward the light beyond the cave even as the darkness tried to hold them back. The tunnel echoed with Daniel's heavy footsteps as he carried Elira on his back and guided Leary with his free hand. Every breath was difficult in the thick air, and the crystals around them hummed like a low, angry song. The further they climbed, the more unstable the cave became. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cracks spread across the walls. The entire place felt like it was collapsing. Leary looked up at Daniel, his small face pale with worry. "Will we make it? The cave, it does not want us to leave." Daniel tightened his grip on the boy's hand. "We'll make it. I've seen worse than falling rocks. Trust me." The boy nodded, but his eyes stayed wide with fear. Elira's faint voice came from Daniel's back. "Human, your strength is great, but the cave grows restless. If it closes before we escape, you may be trapped too." Daniel set his jaw. "Then I'll find a way through. That's what humans do. We find a way, even when everything says we can't." As they reached a wider passage, Daniel noticed more crystals glowing along the walls. They pulsed in a strange rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. His scanner beeped wildly, warning of high energy. He paused, studying them. "These crystals, they're connected. They drain energy, but they also control the cave. That's why it's unstable." He lowered Elira carefully onto the ground and knelt beside her. "If I can block or disrupt their connection, maybe the cave will calm down. We'll have a chance to escape." Leary blinked at him. "But how? We have nothing." Daniel smiled faintly. "Humans are good at improvising. Give me a little time." He unpacked what little equipment he had left. A few metal sheets, broken wires from his failed shield, and the small power cell of his scanner. Not much. But to Daniel, even scraps could be tools. He began placing the sheets against the crystals, connecting them with wires. He formed a rough circle around Elira like a protective shell. Then he linked the scanner's power cell to the wires. The device hummed, sparks flickering across the metal. The crystals nearby flickered and dimmed, their hum growing softer. Elira sighed in relief as her glow steadied. "It's working," Daniel said with determination. "I'm creating a barrier, blocking the chain reaction. If I can hold it, we can move her safely out." But the cave fought back. A loud crack echoed through the chamber, and the ground shook violently. Large stones fell, crashing near them. Leary screamed and clung to his mother, but Daniel shielded them with his body, taking the hit of smaller rocks against his suit. He gritted his teeth. "Not today. You're not taking them." The shield sparked again, and the wires glowed dangerously, hot. Daniel knew it wouldn't last long. He turned to Leary. "Listen, I'll carry your mother. You walk beside me. Hold on to my suit if you must, but stay strong. We're almost there." Leary wiped his tears and nodded firmly. "I will not let go." Daniel lifted Elira again, feeling her light body against his back. She whispered weakly, "You do the impossible. That is your gift." Daniel smiled faintly. "Not impossible. Just human." Together they began the final climb. The path narrowed, forcing Daniel to squeeze through jagged stones. His shoulders scraped against sharp crystals, sparks flying each time his suit touched them. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward, protecting Elira from the shards. Leary stayed close, his small hands gripping Daniel's arm whenever the ground shook. Suddenly, a massive rumble shook the cave. The ceiling cracked and a wall of stones crashed down behind them, sealing the path they had just walked. Leary gasped. "The cave is closing." Daniel looked back once, then forward again. "Then there's no turning back. We move forward, no matter what." As they neared the upper chambers, the crystals glowed brighter, almost blinding. Daniel shielded his eyes, but Elira groaned in pain. The light was draining her again, stronger than before. He stopped and set her down gently, thinking quickly. His shield was broken, his power nearly gone. He needed another way. Then he remembered something. His suit's emergency energy core. It was meant to power life support systems if the main supply failed. If he used it, he could create a stronger barrier. But it was risky. Without it, his suit would fail in minutes. He hesitated only for a second. Her life or mine? There's no choice. He pulled the core from his suit and wired it into the shield. The crystals dimmed instantly, their draining light fading to a soft glow. Illyra gasped, her breathing easing as her glow returned. Leary cried out with joy. "Mother, you're stronger!" Daniel's chest rose and fell heavily. His suit's systems flickered, warning of low power. He ignored it. "Get up. We need to move now, while the shield holds." With renewed strength, Illyra managed to stand with Daniel's support. Leary clung to her hand as they hurried through the last stretch of the cave. The tremors grew louder. Dust and stones rained down. The path was breaking apart behind them, swallowed by darkness. Daniel pushed forward, muscles screaming, sweat dripping into his eyes. Just a little further. "Don't stop." Finally, he saw it. The faint light of the forest outside shining through the cave's mouth. "Almost there," he shouted. But one last obstacle stood in their way. A massive crystal formation blocked the exit, fallen during the tremors. It pulsed with bright light, humming so loudly it shook the ground. Daniel's suit flickered weakly. He had no power left, no shield. Only his bare strength. He set Illyra and Leary aside, then stepped up to the crystal. His hands pressed against the cold, glowing surface. It was heavy, unmovable to anyone else. But Daniel roared with effort, pushing, with every ounce of strength he had left. His muscles burned, his arms trembled, but slowly the crystal shifted. Cracks formed at its base. Leary shouted with excitement, "He's moving it! He's really moving it!" With one final push, Daniel rolled the crystal aside, opening the path. Light from the forest poured in, washing over them like the first breath of freedom. He collapsed to his knees, exhausted but smiling. "Go. The way is clear." Leary rushed forward, pulling his mother into the light. Illyra's glow brightened instantly as the cave's draining power faded. She breathed deeply, her strength slowly returning. Daniel followed, stumbling into the forest. The glowing plants swayed gently, welcoming them back. The air was fresh, clean, alive. Illyra knelt on the soft ground, holding Leary close. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she looked at Daniel. "You saved us, not just with strength, but with heart. No one else could have done this." Leary hugged Daniel tightly, his small arms glowing faintly. "You saved my mother. You are our hero." Daniel smiled tiredly, ruffling the boy's hair. "I just did what anyone should do. But maybe that's what makes humans different." The forest glowed warmly around them, as if the world itself was thankful. Illyra's strength returned little by little, her light no longer fading. For Leary, his desperate cry across the stars had been answered. And for Daniel, he had discovered something greater than maps or missions. He had proven that sometimes only a human's courage and compassion could save a world. And though the cave still hummed in the distance, its secrets waiting to be uncovered, Daniel knew the true victory was here in the bond between a child, a mother, and a human who refused to give up. The first rays of the sun touched the forest, lighting up the glowing plants and sparkling rivers. Daniel lay on the soft grass, exhausted but alive. His suit was damaged, his muscles burned, and his energy was nearly gone. Yet his heart felt lighter than it had in days. Leary ran ahead, holding his mother's hand tightly. Illyra's glow had returned fully, bright and steady. She smiled down at her son, and then carefully, she looked at Daniel. "You saved us," she said, her voice steady now. "No one else could have done this. Only a human could answer such a cry." Daniel struggled to sit up, rubbing his tired arms. "I just did what had to be done. I didn't do it for praise, I did it for both of you." Leary hugged him tightly, eyes shining. "But you are more than anyone we know. You are brave, strong, and kind. You are our hero. Elira knelt beside Daniel, placing her hands gently on his shoulders. Humans, we have heard tales of your kind. Brave, resourceful, and full of heart. Now I have seen it. You carry the light of the stars within you, not just in power, but in courage and compassion. Daniel shook his head, smiling faintly. I only acted as any human would if given the chance. Maybe that's what makes humans different. We don't turn away when someone needs help. The forest around them seemed to respond to the words. The glowing plants shimmered brighter, and the rivers sparkled like liquid diamonds. Birds with crystal-like wings fluttered above, singing soft tones. The world itself seemed to celebrate Elira's return and Daniel's courage. Leary looked up at the sky, then back at Daniel. I never thought anyone could save my mother, but you came across the stars and answered our cry. You are unlike anyone in our history. Daniel smiled gently. History is full of people who have done impossible things. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Elira laughed softly, a warm, melodious sound. Right place? No. You were chosen. The universe sent you. Only a human could have the strength, the will, and the heart to save us. Your kind is remarkable. Daniel felt a warmth spread through him, not from the sun, not from his body, but from the acknowledgement of another world. Here, across the stars, humans were recognized not for weapons, not for machines, but for courage and compassion. The trio walked slowly through the forest toward the small village where Leary's people lived. Villagers emerged from their homes, curious and cautious. They had heard of the child who had gone into the cave and the human who had come with him. When Elira and Leary appeared, safe and glowing, the villagers gasped. Then whispers of amazement filled the air. Children pointed. Elders bowed slightly, and the entire village gathered around Daniel. Elira spoke first. This human saved my life and my son's life. He faced the cave itself and did not give up. We owe him more than we can say. The villagers murmured among themselves, clearly astonished. Humans were not common in their history. To see one act with such bravery and kindness was beyond their imagination. A young Iranian approached Daniel, eyes wide. You walked where none of us could. You protected life even when it was dangerous. Why? Daniel knelt to meet the young Iranian's gaze. Because life matters. Every being deserves help, no matter how far you are from home. That's what humans believe. The child nodded slowly, understanding. Then your heart is the greatest strength. Daniel smiled faintly. Maybe. But your mother's love and your courage helped too. You are brave, Leary. You never gave up. Leary hugged his mother again, then looked at Daniel. I will remember this always. You showed us that humans are special. Elira stood, brushing dust from her glowing skin. My people will remember this story for generations. Not because of weapons or technology, but because of one human who dared to step into danger and fight for others. You are our hero. Daniel shook his head with a small laugh. I don't need to be a hero, I just did what felt right. That's all any human can do. The villagers nodded, some smiling, some bowing in respect. The child's cry for help had reached across worlds, and a human had answered it. That simple act, walking into danger, protecting the weak, refusing to give up, was a story they would tell forever. That evening, as the sun set, painting the forest in shades of gold and purple, Daniel sat with Elira and Leary beside a small river. The air was calm and the glowing plants around them swayed gently. Leary looked up at him. Do humans often do such things? Travel across the stars to save strangers? Daniel laughed softly. Not always, but some do. Some humans see a problem and think, I can help. It's not about fame or reward. It's about choosing to act when others might not. Leary's eyes shone with understanding. Then, Humans are indeed special, strong, brave, and kind, just like you. Daniel smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. And some humans like me just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Elira placed her hands on Daniel's shoulders again. No, Daniel. It was not chance, it was fate. Only a human could have answered our cry. You carry courage and compassion that shine brighter than any star. That is your gift. Daniel felt a deep warmth inside. Across the stars, on a distant world, humans had been recognized for what they truly were. Not conquerors, not rulers, but protectors. He realized that perhaps that was humanity's greatest strength. As night fell, the three of them sat together under the glowing sky. Leary rested his head on his mother's lap, and Elira looked at Daniel with eyes full of gratitude. The village behind them was quiet, the villagers still in awe of what had just happened. Daniel gazed at the stars above. For years, he had flown through space, mapping worlds, exploring planets, and learning about alien life. But this, saving a mother, answering a desperate child's plea, standing firm in danger, was more meaningful than anything he had done before. He realized that humans were special, not because of technology or strength alone, but because of their hearts. They could face fear, cross impossible distances, and act with compassion when the world needed it most. And here, on this distant planet, he had proven it. Finally, Leary looked up at him one last time, eyes shining with trust and love. Thank you, human. You answered my cry, you saved my mother, you are our hero always. Daniel smiled, his tired face lighting up with warmth. And I will remember you, Leary. You showed me that courage isn't just about strength, it's about love and never giving up. That's what makes you special too. Elira nodded in agreement. Yes. And now my son and I will live because of your courage. The story of the human who saved us will be told for generations. Daniel leaned back, exhausted but content. The stars above sparkled, the forest glowed gently, and the bond between a human and a distant alien family shone brighter than any crystal. For in the end, it was not technology or power or even knowledge that mattered. It was a human heart, answering a desperate cry across the stars, and only a human could have done it.